Trying to stay locked in 24/7 is like trying to repeatedly fire an empty gun. Tons of hustle, but zero results. For 5 painful years, I was grinding like this non-stop until I discovered something called focus cycling, pretty much at like the lowest point in my life working a job. And now I'm able to effortlessly focus for 6 to 13 hours, completely locked in. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to use my simple 3-step method of focus cycling to quickly transform scattered hustle into laser sharp productivity. To start, let me show you how to lock in all day by cycling your task properly. So probably around like 14 years old or 16 years old, I realized I could enter this sort of godlike state. Like this is when I was just starting to get into trying to focus and achieve my goals. So I could enter this state where like creative ideas or solutions would just sort of flood into my brain. I was so focused. And the best way I can describe it is literally just the feeling of your brain glowing. Like it feels like expanded in some way. So my big brain plan to keep making focus, keep hitting my goals, obviously was I just got to grind harder. And I think you've heard the saying before, you probably heard it before, it was you just got to push through the initial resistance of each task and then you can focus because, you know, sort of that initial part is the hardest, right? But that is not entirely true. But either way, I just grinded for the next 5 years. So 5 years later, I was encountering burnout. My brain would fog out. I would literally just sit there and work and nothing would come and continue to think, fuck yeah, you know, just grind harder. That's the initial resistance that I got to push through. But then eventually, you know, I was starting to graduate college and I thought, you know, like, fuck, I actually need to make money, not just grind on random businesses that are not really working. So I got this job and I started making money, but I wanted to go for a promotion. So I had the genius idea, again, of grinding 18 hours a day now to get that promotion. And I was thinking like, fuck yeah, you know, I'm gonna get that promotion. But the result of it, did I find my God mode? I didn't. You know, maybe I saw God for a few moments, like half fucking dead. Absolute garbage. I felt like absolute garbage. I could barely think, I could barely function. I could barely stay awake, honestly, because I slept like 2 hours a day. But when I was, again, I mentioned the lowest point in my life, I was literally staring at the screen blankly. I could not work anymore. Like, even if I forced myself to, no thoughts would come. So being exceptionally fucked up, I ended up just like scrolling YouTube in the middle of the day, literally in my office at work. And I came across this Andrew Huberman video about the neuroscience of focus, how do you actually focus naturally. And the very, very brief summary of it is, why not just focus with the natural cycles of your brain rather than trying to force focus? So I watched a bunch of Andrew Huberman videos back in the day, and I thought, you know, Andrew Huberman gives pretty good advice. So why not give this a try too, instead of these years of grinding? And you know what? 2 years later, I've been doing it for the last 2 years at least. And now I can enter this God mode state in less than 15 minutes quite easily. In 2 to 6 hours of focus in this state, I get more done than I used to get done in like 12 to 18 hours of grinding. And then in the rest of the day, I basically just have free. So I can either continue to work more if I want to get more done, which is what I usually do, or I can just fucking do nothing, right? I can just like go do whatever I want because I literally got more work done. So it turns out you need to just focus the right hours, not force it. So the question now becomes, how do you align your work so you can enter this God mode all the time with the natural cycles of energy in your brain? So I think the best way to figure this out is with like, if you've seen those baby shaped sorters, you know, you have like a wooden box or whatever, has certain shaped holes, and you can put that same shape block into that hole, and certain holes don't fit. First step is to identify your blocks in your holes. So if each of the tasks in your day is a block, or the types of tasks in your day is a block, you're starting with the circle block, you could designate this as your deep work block, your God mode task. The task that you need 100% brain power for, like maybe writing out copy for a sales page, something that you really have to think about, like business strategy. And then you have your square block. This is more of a medium task. Things, you know, you don't really need peak focus. You don't have to like process a ton of information, but it's still things like maybe doing research or learning or reviewing, like this God mode task that you were just working on. And then you have your triangle task last, which is just the easy stuff or the more restorative tasks. So this could be like a light workout, paying bills, maybe just like answering some quick emails or scheduling. And the key here is, or like a pro tip, is you should have at least one block a day. And step 2 is you just want to find your different holes, or basically your peak energy windows. So if you imagine the shape sorter, like the box itself is your day, your entire day, the amount of time that you have. When do you naturally feel the sharpest, like the most creative, you have the most effortless cognitive power? And just be honest, like, is it really the morning time, the afternoon, or the nighttime? I know a lot of people, they glorify the morning type of people, but it really doesn't matter. What really matters is when can you genuinely get the most done. And I think the easiest way to figure it out is just how do you feel. The second way to figure out is if you leave like your window curtains, like I have blackout curtains, if you leave it open, how much light does it take to actually wake you up? If you're more like a night person like my brother, it doesn't matter. He can literally sleep in like direct sunlight. But for me, like literally a crack of light, even through the blackout curtains, right at like 6 o'clock in the morning or 4 a.m., I wake up because that slight amount of light wakes me up. And maybe then you're more of a morning person. So once you find your peak energy window, and just for example's sake, I'm just gonna go with morning person. You would put your window to do your God mode tasks in the morning, and then followed by your medium tasks when you're less energy, and then your more of a restorative task, your triangle task window during the days where you're the part of the day where your energy feels the lowest. And then in step 3, once you have these windows set based on your actual energy cycle, you just cycle putting it in different holes. So what that means is, okay, you have your say you have your to-do list, you know exactly what you want to do for during the day. You don't want to like start with your medium task and try to like put it in where you have your God mode energy, because now it's just a waste. You have much more energy, you're able to do more then, and that then would force you to like, oh shit, now when you have less energy, you tackle this God mode task, you can't really get it done, it doesn't really fit. So what you have to do is assign the task to the right window, and then everything will go smoothly. But then you might be wondering, what if you didn't finish your like one God mode task for the day? What do you do then? Well, if it's not urgent, it's likely not good idea to try to force it through the other time periods of the day, because you won't get anything done. Like you can sit there for the entire 5 hours like me back in my job, but you're just gonna stare at the screen, you're not gonna get shit done. So it's a waste of time. So you might be better off, if you genuinely have to get it done, if it's really urgent, just quickly cycle to like more of like a triangle task or something like that. You might like take a nap or like do a quick workout stretch. That might restore your energy enough so you can return to the God mode task, like cycle back to this type of task. Or of course, as I mentioned, you can just cycle to the next task, and then the following day, then come back to it. So now you're able to focus the most efficiently throughout your entire day by matching your daily energy perfectly. But how do you sustain this God mode focus throughout the entire day without like getting distracted halfway through within a task? Let me show you exactly how to cycle your focus using something called alternating rhythms, your brain's natural 90-minute cycle, so you can stay distraction free, stay locked in throughout any task no matter how hard it is. So imagine trying to conquer an ice bath, and by conquer I mean like legit staying in the ice bath long enough to melt all the ice. If you just jump in and you try to stay the whole time and never get out and just melt it, you're obviously going to get hypothermia, right? You're going to fucking die in here because it's cold. Your body can only take so much cold before it's done. But if you get out for a bit, maybe like warm up with a towel, or maybe you have like a sauna, like a super nice sauna, you can warm up in there and then return or cycle between warming and colding, and eventually you're obviously going to conquer that entire ice bath, right? Well, deep focus is this ice bath. Your brain can sustain intense concentration for only so long, again, 90 minutes, before it just like mentally fatigues. You'll lose focus no matter what. And of course you can force it, but again, you get hypothermia and die. It's too cold, resulting in you failing whatever work or not being able to stay focused, going to a distraction. So you need to cycle, go from intense focus to real warm-ups. Let your brain defocus so then you can go back in even deeper. So how do you warm up effectively without getting sucked into distractions? And just for your information, it's not Pomodoro technique or any timers or scheduling apps or journals. Anything that adds complexity is not it. Simple is best. So that's exactly what I'm going to show you. First is to become cold aware. So let your brain become aware of the cold. Like tune into your mental state every 90 minutes, like whenever you feel your focus fading is usually when it happens. That is your cue to start thinking about, okay, what can you do to warm up? And honestly, like a pro tip here is literally just drink a bunch of water. Usually, when you actually need to take a piss is when you naturally will have your focus also dip. And your body's pretty smart here. It's already internally very well aligned. And alternatively, you can just do meditation. And meditation, of course, will bring awareness to your brain and be able to let yourself catch when you're cold or your focus is dipping. And the step 2 is to now, once you figure that out, warm have your warm-up action ready to go. Something that turns off your brain completely. So a bad example is like phone scrolling or like checking your email, like or watching a quick YouTube video. All of those are not warming up. It's like jumping into a different ice bath because it uses your brain power. Especially if you like went on like a super engaging like TikTok or watching shorts or some shit. And a good warm-up is like going a walk for like 15 minutes, again taking your piss, maybe making a coffee or brewing tea. Do this while being very present. Like literally just boil the water there, not really thinking about anything. Don't like scroll your phone while you're waiting or anything like that. Or just do like 15 push-ups or stretch or like just stare out the window honestly. Personally, I like to brew tea. And then step 3 is just to repeat this cycle. So just keep going between warming up and cooling down every single time you catch yourself like of the cold. You warm back up and that allows you to go back in, melt more ice, get your tasks done more and more. And it keeps you as efficiently locked in as possible. Okay, so now you're cycling intra-task all day so you don't get distracted mid-task no matter how hard your task is. But what about those bigger, longer term goals that you maybe have multi-day tasks, multiple things going towards just one goal? How do you stay engaged and avoid getting bored or like hitting a plateau or like getting demotivated over years? Let me show you how to cycle your actual goals to keep you locked in on your ambition, making consistent progress without any shiny object syndrome ever. For example, when I was like 5 years old, my ambition was high as fuck. You know, I wanted to get rich, probably like you do. So ever since then, like I want to make $1 million and shit like that, right? But crazy enough, the obvious first step that I took, I saw like YouTubers on the internet, like 12-year-old kids making millions of dollars on dropshipping. So the obvious thing that I did was I did dropshipping too, just like those 12-year-olds. Because, you know, if they can do it, I can do it at like, I think I started around like 14 or 16. And then crazy enough, actually, I actually did make a sale. On my first day, literally, when I woke up in the morning, I made a sale and made like 20 bucks or some shit. But the thing is, 1 year later, oh fuck, I lost money because there was like some people fucking around with the returns. Like they didn't want a product, so I had to like return it and like, oh, you know, it was the whole thing really fucked up. But here's the thing. Even after I failed and gave up dropshipping after I lost money, my core ambition, wanting to get rich since I was 5 years old, or like wanting that wealth, the freedom, having something meaningful to actually work on, that didn't die. It was still there. The thing is it was the vehicle that sucked for me. Like dropshipping was fucking not a good idea, alright? Because I was doing it based on like some fucking 12 years old, not based on myself. So if you stick to one rigid approach for too long, you get no results. Especially if that thing that you're doing doesn't yield any excitement. Like dropshipping was boring as fuck. I hated that shit, right? You know, if you hate that shit, it's not gonna work. Eventually your ambition will rust, it becomes boredom, and then it becomes doubt, and then oh fuck, your focus dies, then you fail. Which is exactly what happened to me. So eventually I figured out you need to cycle your approach to the same overarching goal. And then that overarching goal was get rich. So I'm just going to go with that example, the 10K a month. Here's how you can do that. Never get bored and always make progress towards your big ambition, but still avoid shiny objects like the dropshipping. The first step is to acknowledge that there is multiple paths to the 10K a month. So the first path, the schemes, just like the dropshipping. It is fast, it can make money fast, but it is soul grinding. The pros, you could get to that 10K a month pretty fast, but you're selling bullshit. You might burn out, you might hate it. But hey, you know, it is real money. You're making money online. And if you try it right away, you might learn that you don't like it. But you know, some people, I genuinely know some people that make pretty good money here and they hate it, but they don't care because they don't work that much after they get it going. They make the money and that's all they care about. Even if they have to like fucking like make themselves hate their life for a couple hours a week, that might be okay for you. But if that path doesn't work, like it didn't work for me, you have path 2, which is to get a job. And this is steady, but soul crushing. So the pros is you obviously like you learn some skills, you get a stable income. You might be able to identify some pain points while you're working that job. So then you can go off and like start a business. Or if you're like my brother, and actually programming is his passion. Like he just wants to learn about programming. He doesn't really care about business because it's like extra skills you have to learn. He thinks it's a pain in the ass. So just getting a stable career, like a very high paying one, actually might be a good goal and you could stop at path 2. But again, this is slower if you want to make like millions or some shit. And in that case, you want to start with path 3 or go into path 3, which is starting your own business. And this is slow and painful. So the process is legit, like years of grinding and learning, failing multiple times, and then maybe after those many fails and then building up your skills for years, you get results. But This is probably the most sustainable path to success if you're very ambitious. So the action here is once you understand that there is 3 different paths or 3 different vehicles that you could pick from if you have this high ambition like 10K a month, you start by cycling the different paths or approaches early on. So don't be afraid to just do all the different paths. There's no reason why you couldn't try to make quick money. There's no reason why you couldn't get a job like I literally got a job myself. And each of these paths, if you try them, will teach you something, a skill that's valuable, which then once you pivot or change to another path, you can take the learnings from that. So I know people have they want to pick something right away and they feel like decision fatigue trying to pick something. But what they don't realize is you can always pick another thing. It really doesn't matter. Although sometimes the switching becomes a problem, but as long as you're learning along the way, it's usually not that bad, because each of these path switchings is like a season arc or milestone. It teaches you, refines your skills, clarifies your vehicle. And the second part, once you've chose your path, this is really where you lock the fuck in once you start these milestone cycling. So the strategy is to every 90 days, start a new block, cycle between these milestones. For example, if you want to start online business, season 1 might be doing some market research, defining your niche, maybe launching on one social media platform based on that niche or that idea. Or season 2, from April to June, the next 3 months could be starting to build up your skills, being consistent in making your marketing materials. And the next 3 months could be analyzing your performance, refining your strategy, starting an audience, getting them more engaged, having these smaller goals, but they all still are related to your overarching path, whatever you choose, your vehicle, which relates to your ambition, your 10K a month. So it's all focused in on that. It's still making you progress, even though it might be very different. And then a pro tip here is just to do it as you go, not have it up front, not set all these seasons up front. Because as you go through and you learn more and you build up skills, you have a better idea of what are the different things that you could do, or what is most effective. And then you can set the next milestone. Because if you plan out 5 years, right, of milestones, probably by milestone 3, once you hit that, all the other ones are not going to be right anymore, and you just kind of wasted your time doing the planning. Okay, so now you're cycling your goals and your approaches, or basically your vehicle, to lock in potentially for years and years to come. But the thing is, what if your ambition itself wasn't properly diagnosed or aimed at the right thing in the first place? And then you end up cycling on different tasks or different goals, and you never get to where you want despite the efforts because you weren't picking a correct destination in the first place, right? You don't want to end up setting a goal like most people in life and then working your entire life only to achieve something you didn't even want. Well, if you don't want that, you can watch this video next where if you're ambitious and also distracted a lot, I'll show you exactly how to diagnose your ambition engine so you aim it correctly like a laser beam. So all your focus, your focus cycling power gets directed and channeled with maximum impact to actually get to the ambition that you genuinely want rather than some shit that other people are telling you or external pressures.